Parents are responsible for raising their children effectively. Through what they both do and don't do, they're supposed to help their child to grow up to be a functioning member of society. But when parents neglect to talk about certain topics like race and trauma with their kid, they inadvertently cause more harm than good. But what exactly is trauma? It's an emotional response to a terrible event, as defined by the American Psychological Association. Both doing and not doing something can cause harm to their child, causing negative behaviors towards themselves and others down the line. This can affect how they interact socially with other people and the world around them. But the doing of this, parents teaching their children these behaviors, whether on purpose or not, is worse than inaction. Through silence, a parent can transfer the trauma they have experienced to their kid. The child acknowledges something is awry, but can't talk about it. They are surrounded by taboos in their family life, covering up past mistakes and history, so they repress their discomfort in secrecy. It eventually alters the way these kids see and perceive their family, which creates unnecessary stress on someone already navigating how to grow up, a hard enough task on its own. Due to the familial taboo, the child can't speak about their feelings, so they hold on to them quietly. While terrible, this type of silent trauma is individual to a family. Grace Cho, the author of The Diaspora of Camptown, writes on this issue. Yet despite not having any conscious knowledge of their parents' stories, the second generation often described a felt sense of their parents' traumas precisely around what was unsaid. Lack of action instead of silence can also play a role in passing off trauma. For immigrants especially, there may be inherent risks that come with the migration process, and these can be heightened by stress incurred. If a parent or guardian lets a child roam freely without giving them household responsibilities, this makes more time for them to participate in dangerous activities, like gangs, substance abuse, and unhealthy relationships. Being stricter and monitoring the child's time can prevent them from incurring more trauma, and there are other actions that can be taken, like engaging in religion, utilizing support systems, and focusing on familialism. As quoted in the study Painful Passages, previous research consistently finds positive association between familialism, social support, and mental health. Though inaction is harmful to a child, a parent teaching them negative behaviors is worse. It causes delays in their social development and can traumatize others as well. To give an example, James Baldwin writes about his experiences in A Stranger in a Strange Village, written during his time living in a remote Swiss village. When he would walk down the street, kids would shout slurs at him. They had no intention of being mean, though. They were raised in a way that this kind of behavior, including touching his hair and gawking at him, was appropriate. They saw their parents act like this, so they copied it. Though the parents might not have meant to teach their children to behave in such a way, they set the standard of what is right and wrong through their actions. When children put on blackface and parade around the streets raising money to buy slaves to convert them to Christianity, they are celebrated according to tradition. The children don't know what they're doing is racist. The parents might not even know. But ignorance is not an excuse. The guardians are responsible for their kids' harmful behaviors. Though the kids' intent might be harmless, words still carry meaning and emotion behind them. They don't recognize what they're saying, so in turn they can't socialize with someone outside of their group, simply because they never learned how to. Their parents' lack of teaching affects their social competency and their ability to engage with the world around them. This negligence regarding these lessons now presents the opportunity to traumatize others through the child's interactions. Now, this example demonstrates something really obvious, like race, but this still causes very tangible emotional damage to the people or comments and actions this is directed at, no matter how innocently intended they were. At least 2, if not more, people have recognized negativity because of this type of behavior. It is important for those parents to recognize how truly detrimental these practices are to their children's social competence. These actions mirror more widespread issues. The trauma inflicted on the child by the parents then leaches onto others through their social interactions. These kids end up with a severely altered idea of what a normal social interaction is with someone who is different from them. These practices are truly detrimental to their child, but to the people in the situation as well. Parents are responsible for educating their children on important and possibly polarizing social issues. Take race. A parent should be teaching their kid that some people appear different than others, whether they are a minority or not. This is called racial socialization. Many studies support that children recognizing differences in race is in fact a taught trait. The way a parent approaches this subject has the potential to shape the way these kids view the race they belong to or others. Racial socialization essentially shapes the way that these kids see a race as a sector of identity and as a general concept. The method a parent chooses greatly affects the outcome. There are 3 main ways this can be done. Non-verbally, which is likely what happened in the previous example, where the kids copy their parents. Verbally, which is when conventional teaching happens. Or it can be unintentional, like monkey see, monkey do. This is normally seen within minority groups towards their own race. As generations increase, so does the potential for traumatic lessons. What the grandparents did to the parents, they do to their children. Inherited thought processes, whether productive or destructive, build with every passing age group, continuing the cycle of damage. Parents walk a thin line when teaching racial socialization, though, because a good-natured conversation about differences can spiral into a disheartening discussion about discrimination and other systemic problems. This early confrontation with racial barriers can cause self-esteem and identity issues to a young mind, and could widely change their perception of themselves and their race, whether they are a minority or the majority. Parents actively teaching children, or not acting at all, can cause generational trauma. Though both are horrible absolutes, it is the action rather than the silence that produces worse consequences to a wider range of people. Growing up and being different from your peers in some way is hard enough. Let's not exacerbate this by having healthy conversations with our children and contributing to their well-being. Teach them that being unique is good, and sure, there might be certain struggles. It's what makes them special. That way, we can have a better social atmosphere for both our kids and yours as well. This message was brought to you by Cadet Emily Wilczek to raise awareness around children's trauma, both the causes and ways to mitigate it.